Hello, everybody. This is Jonathan Simpkin from 604 Records, sitting in the sound stage in the 604 Records headquarters in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. It's not so beautiful today, but it's not bad. I'm really excited. I'm sitting here today with a couple of gentlemen I've known for so long it's almost not even funny. To my far left, Danny Craig.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, there he is.
Hi there. This is Danny.
And sitting in the middle of us, Dave Benedict.
Hello, hello. Thanks
Hello. Yeah, so we're filming this because we have a bit of an announcement to make, which we're excited about. Danny and Dave have started a label.
That's right.
And why don't you say the name of it? It's your label. Why don't you reveal that?
Well, we are, as rocker kind of fellas ourselves, we've started a rock label called Rock is Dead Records.
But if you're rock guys and rock is dead, then what the hell?
I know. Well, I think that was the most rock and roll name we could think of at the time to kind of spit in that statement. You're right. We've been hearing that for,
forever.
you know,
right?
Gene Simmons said it even and whatever. And yeah, but I've been feeling it. We've all been feeling it. We think there's a need for it. We think there's a void of rock music right now. Proper rock music.
I think rock got a little boring there for a little while.
A little stale?
You're probably right.
Stale, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it all. I mean, it's, from a guy, I obviously own a record label and, and we've had a lot of success with rock over the years. And you've sort of seen it wane to some degree over the last 5 to 10 years. And, you see that in very practical ways. For example, the shrinking number of rock radio stations, which really became problematic for those of us in the rock business because, it's just not that many places for rock music to get played. And so I think as terrestrial radio has kind of lessened in its significance, I think that's actually in a weird way been a good thing for rock music because, everybody listens now on Spotify and Apple Music and streaming services and YouTube, and it's not so much about what's being fed at you, it's about your own choice of what you want to listen to.
Right.
So does that make rock that much cooler?
I suppose it does to the people who are making those choices to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
But just to give a little more background, Danny, I think, was the one who contacted me about this maybe, 6 months ago or something like that. And, I was interested right away, partly because I do love rock music so much. It's certainly something that our label is continuing to put out proudly. And partly because of our history, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. And, because he sent me music that I thought was quite good. And I sort of shared it around the office and everybody liked it. And so we put forward a proposal. So, it's so interesting because here we are, I think I calculated 23 years after we first met and we're first doing business. I mean, Jesus Christ, 23 years ago. It's insane.
Mm-hmm. No, I can remember that. I can remember that first meeting even. I think it was at the Palladium, if you remember that venue.
Wow.
I feel like maybe it was there or somewhere's around there.
Hold on, what the hell is the Palladium? I can't even
remember that one.
Remember
the
the
venue.
Palladium?
Yeah.
I remember the name. I just can't remember the
It
venue.
was a good-sized rock venue. It had a
Huge
balcony.
stage.
But where?
It was downtown,
Richards.
wasn't
It was on Richards. It was just up the street from
Yeah.
Dick's on Dick's.
Okay. Now, isn't that funny? So, and we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording, but, sometimes when you have memories that are so old, you're not sure if you're actually remembering the thing directly or you're kind of remembering your own memory of it.
Yeah.
And it all gets confusing. But my recollection of the first time I met you, my recollection of the first time I heard of you guys was from our mutual friend Chad Krueger from Nickelback. And Chad, is an interesting guy in a lot of ways, but especially back in the day when Nickelback was first going, they would go on these tours that were insane. Like, it would be like, see you in a year, buddy. Like, it's just like they'd hit the road and, I wouldn't see them for like 6-7 months. I was their lawyer at the time, still am, 26 years later. And, but, they'd come off the road after some long tour and Ryan and Mike, and at the time Ryan Vicadol, you know, they would all disappear into their domestic lives when they got off the road. But Chad's idea of taking a break was recording other bands. You know, so they'd come off the road and, you know, God knows where Ryan Peake was, but, you know, Chad would be recording bands. And because I was his lawyer, I'd always get that phone call. Hey, buddy, I'm recording this band, and we're going to do a deal where, like, I get, you know, standard points on the record, and if they get a deal, I get, you know, 20% of their advance, or I don't know, whatever it was. And so I would always do these contracts for him. And my first time I was aware of you guys was through one of these deals that Chad did. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Dave was in the band at that point. As I recall, the band was called Shock the Day.
Oh, well, so that was even separate from Default entirely. So that was back then, and I believe that's when I did first meet you, because I think it was, if you remember, Ken Grant, who was bombing around with bands and stuff, right?
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure he introduced us way back when we were still that. So that was still with Leon and Dwayne,
Leon.
of course. So it was
Dwayne.
just Jeremy and I that were in that group, and that was the group that we left. You know, it was shortly after Nickelback was signed, and we knew that they took it very seriously, and we knew that, okay, we got to step this. We got to spend, you know, every day on this. We got to do this at least 5 days a week, like a job, if we're going to make this happen. Remember, we approached the singer with that, didn't work out. So Jeremy and I left at that point, and Dwayne was still with us. And that's when, you know, Dallas, out of nowhere, our buddy from high school, hey, can I try singing? You know,
Sure.
And that's, of course, Dallas Smith.
Yes,
who,
that's right. Yeah,
You know,
a couple people know him.
I mean, the way these relationships all intersect is insane, to be honest. Because, of course, Dallas, and we'll go back to the story, but Dallas, of course, post Default, or Default's still a thing, but post the sort of, you know, when Default was at its absolute peak, you know, Dallas ended up signing to 604 Records as a country artist and has done exceedingly well as a country artist. But back then, like, what I remember is doing some contract for Shock the Day. I remember Chad calling me and saying, hey, buddy, remember Shock the Day? And it's kind of like, yeah, I don't think I ever met them, but I remember doing the paperwork or whatever. And he's like, well, they got a new singer, and I hear he's real good looking. Isn't it funny how you remember the stupidest shit? But I was like, oh, yeah. And he's like, and they're playing tonight at Studebaker's. And I said, oh. He's like, you want to come? I said, you know what? Yeah, why not? And again, I can't remember I think
He may not have been there yet, because it was actually, you had already started shopping before Dave joined. It was after Interscope came up to see us, and it was after that show, that was also the first time that Josh Frenny from TVT would have seen us too.
he was at that Studebaker
Maybe this is all the same. Well, you would have had, it was you who got the Interscope guy up, so... But he said, oh, you know, the band still needs 6 months or so. They're not good enough yet, and that's when we made the call to replace Dwayne and got Dave on board.
Okay, because like that Studebaker show was before there was any label interest. Because, and again, memory of a memory, but the way I recall it is that Chad and I were coming to see you to see if we even wanted to get involved. Mm-hmm. Like at that point, it was like, hey, let's check them out. And I have very vivid memories of that show. You know, is Studebaker still around?
I don't believe so. No.
Studebaker's was this kind of infamous shithole club near Metrotown.
It's kind of where we all cut our teeth, though.
Yeah,
that was the place.
Was Studebaker's. And so I do have real, like, definite recollection. And it's funny, just you're jogging my memory, because we did do another showcase show there where Josh from TVT came. Mm-hmm. But this was before that. This was the first time I had seen you guys play. And I have so many funny memories of that show, probably the most vivid one being, you know, Dallas was so nervous. I believe that was his first time he had ever sang publicly, was that show.
Right.
And he spent as much time